Well, I mean, you could say Atlanta looked the most consistent because they kept going down 2-0.
I truly do believe they could be a top four team. I think one of the things is Awakening still going to keep his grind coming.
A hell of a shakeup in the power rankings after that event. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Free for All. Yes, Free for All, a brand new series brought to you by the WNP Podcast that is on the Call of Duty League. Yes, a professional esports league. Kind of crazy, right? But we live in crazy times as of right now. So I've been a Call of Duty guy for quite some time, and I'm a big fan of the Call of Duty League. And I feel like we have amazing shows out there, but we don't really get a fan perspective when it comes to all these shows and podcasts that are out there right now with the Call of Duty League. It seems like most of them involve people that are contracted with the Call of Duty League, and although they do a great job, they may be contracted in a way in which they're not able to say something. So here on Free For All, we're going to speak our minds, say what we want about the Call of Duty League, and hopefully bring some enjoyment to your guys' day. So introducing my co-host for Free for All, it is Cam Cleaner. Cam, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and I'm glad to have you on the show. You are one of the only buddies that I'm close with that are interested in the Call of Duty League, and it's unfortunate because the league itself is very entertaining, and really, I just love all things competitive, so watching competitive Call of Duty is just so much fun.
I agree. I mean, it's kind of like sports, to be honest. It's just very competitive, and it's just always fun to watch. And there's a lot of players that you gotta love and support all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Cam, on tap for our first ever episode of Free for All, we're going to be talking about the most recent event, which was CDL Minnesota. We're going to be talking about some stuff that went down there, and holy hell, they had a hell of a shakeup in the power rankings after that event. We'll also be doing those power rankings, and then we will talk about the upcoming event, CDL Paris, and add some predictions in there. So, Cam, let's start off with talking about CDL Minnesota, a good event, and really one where we're coming into the event thinking Atlanta FaZe, Dallas Empire, Chicago Huntsmen, each have 2 victories under their belts. They're all going to be playing at the same exact tournament. Who's going to win? Who's going to be the top dog? And we didn't find that out because none of them won the whole event. It was the Florida Mutineers, and it really came out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming, did you?
No, I did not at all. Especially with the newcomer coming in, I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Awakening. He really had a great performance there with the Florida Mutineers. And let's talk about the Florida Mutineers real quick here. So, going through their schedule, they first played the Chicago Huntsmen, beat them 3-2, a nice showing there. They then versed the LA Gorillas, who honestly looked quite phenomenal this event, and they took out the LA Gorillas 3-1. Their next series was against the Dallas Empire, in which they beat them 3-2. And then in the grand finals, they versed the Atlanta FaZe and beat them 3-1. So a very impressive performance by the Florida Mutineers. And I think Awakening added something that they really needed, and that was some extra pressure, some extra attack mentality. And, they had Mox there who was playing their flex role. Skies had their main AR, and Mox was a little bit of a slower player. Well, now he gets to the bench. Awakening comes in, and you can just fly with Awakening, Havoc, Frosty, and Pharaoh. You got Skies in the back, absolutely locking it down with the AR. The Florida Mutineers really looked phenomenal this event. But do you think the Florida Mutineers are here to stay? Do you think this team is going to be one of the top 4 teams that are going to constantly be competing for those championships?
I truly do believe they could be a top four team. I think one of the things is Awakening still going to keep his grind coming. Like, is he still going to be a top player on that team? I think that's a big part in it. I mean, for this event, it's kind of tough because he was coming in, playing against a lot of the best players. But, he did show off and put a great performance out there, and probably one of the best rookie debuts. And I mean, what else could you ask for?
Yeah, most definitely. He looked absolutely phenomenal. And speaking of phenomenal, we just mentioned the LA Gorillas. They really looked good. And it was kind of shocking because they've been one of the worst teams all year. And they replace Spart with Saints. Saints comes in and he's there to help them with their respawns. And their respawns look spectacular. However, I didn't think Saints had that big of a I don't want to say he didn't have a big factor because obviously he did because the hard points just absolutely flipped on their head. They looked phenomenal in hard point, but he wasn't their top slayer in hard point. He wasn't their top OBJ guy, but he was there with the leadership and the team got it done. Decimate and Vivid were absolutely phenomenal all weekend. Blast was great too. So a really impressive performance by the LA Gorillas. On Friday, they beat the Toronto Ultra 3-2, and then they lost to the eventual champions, the Florida Mutineers, 3-1 on Saturday. They played the Chicago Huntsmen and knocked them out of the tournament 3-2, and then eventually fell to the Atlanta Phase 3-2. And that was a really tough one because I believe it was Aqua shot Blast, maybe? Aqua shot one of his teammates in the back of the dome in the final search and destroy match, and that's really what sealed the deal. An unfortunate loss for the LA Gorillas, but they looked really good, really promising, and I'm excited to watch them play, in the next couple tournaments here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, bringing in Saints, he's played for a while now, and he's got that veteran leadership too. And I think Vivid looked great out there, and same with Blast and Decimate. They definitely performed very well together, and I mean, I think it still needs a little improving, but I mean, bringing in someone new to a team, it takes some time to get used to them. So I think they could definitely put some damage out there in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming into this tournament, I really did not have much hope in the Seattle Surge. And I don't think many people did because Nabel, he was benched multiple times, that is. Karma retired. Octane was swapped to the SMG role, and then he got swapped back to the AR. Who knows what was happening with Seattle? It was just a big mess in the front office, but they came to play on Friday. They went up 2-0 over the Atlanta FaZe. However, there was a 45-minute intermission to fix the stream, and eventually it came back and they lost three straight to the Atlanta FaZe. Not a very good showing or display by the league itself. I got some comments from Octane here. Octane said, "Of course we wait 45 minutes. Add that to the list of things for this year. GG's Atlanta." Another one, a fucking course, bro. Literally laughable at the CDL standards this year. Legitimately laughable at the level of professionalism event after event. So we've seen some things from the CDL in prior events that have been something similar to this. For example, we saw the London Royal Ravens taking on the Atlanta FaZe in a Hackney Yard hardpoint. The London Royal Ravens were shooting each other, trying to get the reset, and about 100 points in, they were told, no, sorry, there's no reset that's going to be happening. They're down 100 points to 0 to one of the best teams in the league. They eventually lose that game and lose that series. Would it have changed if they got that reset? Maybe. We don't really know. But again, not a great showing here. A 45-minute wait to fix the stream. I honestly don't think it's very important to fix that stream. The Seattle Surge got incredibly iced in this series. What are your thoughts on the integrity of this league right now?
I don't know, man. It was very unfortunate for them, and just this whole year for Seattle Surge has not been going well for them. Having one of the greatest of all time retire on them, having being blacklisted from scrims and all this other stuff, it's just not going well for them. And and I know for there was past years in IW there was a thing where it happened where it was a FaZe versus Optic in the finals, and FaZe was up in a hard point and they had to reset because something that was wrong with Optic's side, and it completely screwed them and they lost the series. And it's unfortunate, but I mean, it's one of those things. From what I heard, it was that the audio cut out and the casting cut out for it. So it's one of those things. Is do you kind of just should play the map out if you still got the video and just without the casting, and then work on fixing the casting after. It's one of those things. It's kind of a tough decision that they're in, but I guess they'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. TJ Haley even came out and said, just play the rest of the series and then have the fix, come in. So I agree a little bit. I don't know, not the best situation there for the Call of Duty League. However, they responded very nicely the next day on Saturday. They came out with the 15 plus 5 rule, and what that is basically is you got 15 minutes to fix what they need to fix. If they can't get it done within those 15 minutes, then they're just going to play the series. That's not going to give a lot of time to really ice a team down, and then they'll add an extra 5 minutes if they think they can get it done within that next 5 minutes. So a really nice response. I think the longest wait time is like 20 minutes for teams not to play. So a really good look there by the CDL, a nice response from them. But let's dive deep a little bit more into the series going on here. So, obviously, we saw the Ultra go out super quick. I think maybe not everyone expected that because the Ultra did have a good showing at the event before Minnesota. But again, they're not one of these top teams, so it wasn't too surprising for me. Then we also saw the Minnesota Rocker, the home team. They went out they were one of the first two teams to go out as well, and they lost to the Seattle Surge. Another nice performance by the Seattle Surge there. Kind of crazy to see them go out so quickly, especially because, for the last, I don't know, month, 2 month, 3 months of power rankings, they've been sitting at that number 4 spot. They couldn't quite get up to the level of the Huntsman, the FaZe, and the Empire, but recently they've not been very good.
Yeah, I agree with that. They just haven't been performing well. I think they just need a little change or something.
Yeah, something has to happen, and unfortunately, Goddard X, who's been their MVP forever, he's not been very good as of recent. That doesn't mean he can't turn it around. He's a very incredibly skilled player, but he's been struggling recently. And then, of course, Alex, one of the speedier subs in the league, he got an injury coming into Saturday, so he wasn't available to perform against the Seattle Surge. Would that have changed things? Probably, but we can't guarantee that. So Minnesota Rocker not looking too hot. The next teams to get eliminated were the Chicago Huntsmen and the Seattle Surge. We kind of expected it with Seattle. They weren't a team we're too high on coming into the weekend, but the Chicago Huntsmen getting 3 games and losing 2 of them, and then losing in the fashion they did against the LA Guerrillas. Not a great showing by the Huntsmen, a team that just won the previous event in Seattle.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate for them. I don't know what really went wrong. I mean, I don't know how you go from winning and just kind of falling out like that. I mean, I think that they set the bar high with the team with picking up Prestini and everything, but I just don't really know what happened there.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, when they won the Seattle event and were coming into Minnesota, I was actually pretty confident in the Huntsmen because they only had 4 days of practice before that Seattle event, and they went on to win it. Yes, they were going to have to face Dallas or FaZe if they wanted to win the whole thing in this event, but they'd have more practice under their belt, and they'd be looking good and wanting to take that championship. But unfortunately, they were not very good this weekend, and an unfortunate loss means we didn't get to see Huntsman versus Atlanta, and that's something we've been looking forward to all year. We haven't seen it once. When are we going to finally see it? Who knows? We're not going to see it next week because the Chicago Huntsmen are on bye. So, unfortunate there. Let's quickly talk about the Dallas Empire and the Atlanta FaZe as well. What did you see from the Dallas Empire that you liked or that you disliked?
I liked a lot from Dallas Empire. I mean, I thought Shotzi kind of stepped up a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I think the team's starting to grow together, and I think they're one of the top dogs now, and they're right on their way to winning something, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And they really didn't show any, at least in my mind, they didn't show much weaknesses when it came to their series against Minnesota and against Seattle. Unfortunately, they're going to run into Atlanta, of course, and that's going to be a tough fight. They're going to lose to them. And then they also lost to the Florida Mutineers in another really close series. I think that one went round 11, game 5. They're going to lose that one to the Florida Mutineers, and that's tough, but I think Dallas has looked pretty strong against teams that aren't in that top tier. Once they face those teams in the top tier, they're a little bit shaky. However, a very good team, and they looked pretty good. I think they're going to make it to the final round in the Paris event, but we shall see what happens there. And then with the Atlanta FaZe, I don't know what happened with the Atlanta FaZe this weekend. They went down 2-0 against the Surge, came back and won. They went down 2-0 against the Dallas Empire, came back and won. And then they were down 2-1 against the LA Guerrillas, came back and won that one as well. And then they just got beat pretty badly against the Florida Mutineers. It was a 3-1 series there, and one that I didn't expect, but gosh, the Atlanta FaZe is really looking like they've got some weaknesses in their game that they got to figure out before they start winning again.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they're all young kids pretty much. And I mean, it was definitely a slow start for most of those games, but I mean, they bounced back well. And I mean, I feel like with the finals with the Mutineers, I mean, I think it's always tough facing a new member on a team. You never know what he's going to bring. You never know what he's going to do. You never know if he has any new strats or anything. So, I mean, I definitely think it was tough, but yeah, I definitely did not expect them to go lose 3-1. I thought it would go all the way, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a great point. Awakening definitely brought some new game plans to the Florida Mutineers, and maybe the FaZe weren't ready for that. However, the Mutineers, they've been watching FaZe VODs all season long. FaZe hasn't made any changes to the lineup whatsoever, and they knew exactly what the FaZe were going to do. That one ends 3-1. Of course, the Florida Mutineers, they're taking the CDL Minnesota home series in a really impressive fashion. So next up, let's talk about some power rankings here, Cam. This really shook up power rankings. We expected to be able to crown the top dog, whether that be Dallas, Chicago, or Atlanta. However, none of them won the tournament. It was Minnesota. That's really going to shake up power rankings. Minnesota continued to look poorly. So let's start talking about power rankings. Let's go from 12 to 1. I'll let you go first, and then I'll give my power rankings, and then we can discuss why you have, one team in a certain place that I may not have them. So I'll let you do your power rankings first. 12 to 1, please.
For 12, I got Paris, Toronto, Surge. 9, I got the Gorillas. 8, I got Optic. 7, Minnesota. 6, London. 5, New York. 4, Huntsman. 3, the Mutineers. 2, FaZe. And 1, Dallas.
Okay, very interesting. I've got something actually pretty similar to you. My number 12 team, the Toronto Ultra. Number 11, Paris. Number 10, Seattle. Number 9, the LA Guerrillas. Number 8, Minnesota. Number 7, Optic. Number 6, New York. Number 5, London. Number 4, Chicago, just like you. The Florida Mutineers coming at my number 3 spot as well. And then Dallas is my number 2. FaZe is my number 1. So what made you put Dallas above FaZe?
For this event, honestly, to me, I thought Dallas looked a little better than FaZe, but I mean, it's close for definitely number 1. But I mean, I just think the little bit slow starts for FaZe kind of could cost them maybe down the road, but I don't know. But I still think they'll be 1 or 2.
Yeah, most definitely. I think Dallas looked way more consistent. Well, I mean, you could say Atlanta looked the most consistent because they kept going down 2-0 and then making a comeback. But yeah, Dallas looked much better in their game. They looked more polished. They were there for the early rotations and hard point where, the FaZe weren't really there. I saw a lot of discussion on Twitter talking about, the FaZe don't really know how to play this game. They're just better than everyone, which could be the case. And could you imagine if they figure out how to play the game, if that really is the case? Having the best players in the world and then being the best at it when it comes to rotations or, knowing certain spawns and all that. It could be absolutely scary. I got the FaZe over the Dallas Empire just because they did beat the Dallas Empire, even though it was close, and the Dallas Empire really could have took that series if just a couple things swung the right direction. But I go them. I like that you and I are on the same page when it comes to, Paris and Toronto, as well as teams like London and New York being really close to that top four. What have you seen? And let's talk about New York that you like.
I mean, a lot of New York's play is very good. I mean, I think they got a good, well-rounded team. I mean, there just needs something else there. I mean, I think Mac's been doing a great job. Temp's always been a great player, and I don't know. They just need something. I don't know what it is, but a little bit more something.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think Mac has been absolutely phenomenal, like you mentioned. The one thing with me is I love Zuma and Attach, and they've been an amazing duo for forever, honestly, since I don't know, Advanced Warfare they were together. So they're a great duo, but I feel like they may have lost a step. I mean, I could be out of line here, but I feel like maybe they need to step it up just a little bit more, and they can get to that top tier type team. Or if not, maybe you look for a roster change. I'm sure there's a roster lock coming here soon, but we'll have to stay tuned for that. If we look at the CDL standings, you got Atlanta FaZe at top with 200, the Huntsmen second. Third, you got the Empire. Fourth, you got the Mutineers. They jumped the Minnesota Rocker this past event. Very nice to see from them. And then, of course, the rest London 6, Optic 7, Paris 8, New York 9, 10, Seattle 11, the LA Gorillas and 12, the Toronto Ultra. Let me ask you about Paris. You had them at your 12 spot, I believe, and they are sitting 8 in the standings. What makes you think that they don't really deserve to be that high, even though the points claim they are?
I don't know. I really don't. They're not. I just don't think they're that good of a team, to be honest. I don't know. They're just they've played some good games and then they've kind of fizzled out. It's one of those things. It's tough, but I mean, I think they're either 12 or 11. I think it's interchangeable, kind of with Toronto and them. But I don't know. I just haven't been really impressed with them.
I agree with you. I think Paris Legion looked really good in the first couple events. However, they've really fallen off. And, they got Kismet there, who's their best player. But outside of that, I don't think there's really any stars on this Paris team, along with Toronto as well. They don't really have any stars that really pop out and are going to carry your team to a victory if they need to be carried to a victory. Let's say they have a slow start. You can count on your Simps. You can count on your Shotsies and your Formals to carry your team to a victory in one game. Toronto and Paris, they don't really have that, but we'll see if they can improve. I think a lot of the teams are closer than what we expected them to be. I think a lot of us thought, Toronto Ultra and Paris Legion, they're not going to be able to do much, but they've been competitive with some of the top teams. And I think the league as a whole has been very competitive, especially as of recent. So I'm excited to see the league continue and head into champs and see what we get done. But now let's talk about some predictions here, Cam. We got CDL Paris coming up. We made our brackets. Let's go over the series one by one. We'll start with the Paris Legion versus the Florida Mutineers. The home team, Paris Legion. Who do you got taking this one, Cam, and how many games?
I think this one's pretty easy for me. I got Florida 3-0.
I agree with you. I got 3-0 Florida as well. They looked absolutely phenomenal. I think they'll do well against the Paris Legion with their first game. Let's not talk about the Dallas Empire versus the London Royal Ravens. Who do you favor in this one?
I got Dallas Empire in this one, a 3-1. I think it could be a 3-0, but I think London might be able to steal a map.
Okay, for sure. I've got the Dallas Empire as well, but I've got this one a little bit closer. I got it 3-2. I think London would be able to take, maybe one respawn as well as a search and destroy off of the Dallas Empire, but we'll have to wait and see to find out. We now go into our knockout round one, and this would be between the London Royal Ravens and the Paris Legion. Who do you got moving on into this one?
I got the London Royal Ravens winning this one. I got it 3-1. I think Paris might be able to steal a map just because they're in their home city, but I don't know. It's gonna
Yeah.
be. I think it's an easy 3-1 for London.
Yep, I did the same exact thing, a 3-1 for the pair or for the London Royal Ravens, excuse me. Next we got the New York Subliners versus the LA Optic Gaming. Who do you got this one?
I got. I honestly got the Subliners winning this one. I think it'll be a close match, but I think it'll be 3-2. But I think Mac will help the Subliners win this series.
Well, it's a good thing you're looking at my screen, Cam, because geez, I got the Subliners winning this one 3-2 as well. It's a good thing that we're going at this together because maybe that means we're both gonna be right, or we could both be just so wrong. But let's talk about Phase versus Ultra. Who do you got coming out in this one? I'm sure it's pretty tough for you.
Yeah. Got to go with FaZe on this one. I think it'll be 3-0. I think it'll be a 3-0.
That's exactly what I have as well. All right, so let's now end off the first round with the knockout round. That would be between the Optic Gaming and the Toronto Ultra. You're favoring who?
I'm favoring Optic in this one. I got it as a 3-1 series.
Oh, okay, cool. And I got it as a 3-0. So, according to my bracket, the Ultra will win 0 games this weekend, and the Paris Legion will win only 1. So, not a great showing by either of those teams, but let's now move on. Let's move back to the top of the bracket. We've got the Dallas Empire versus the Florida Mutineers. Who do you have taking this one?
I have Dallas Empire taking this one 3-2 because I think Dallas will go back and watch some VODs and everything and figure out what they need to do against Awakening, and I think they'll be able to figure them out.
Okay, cool. And I also have the Dallas Empire, and I actually have it as a 3-1. So, hear me out. Every single time there's been a roster change, the team has either made it to the grand finals, like we saw with the Florida Mutineers. We saw it with Pristini getting there with the Huntsman. We saw Optic Gaming and Chino get to the finals. We didn't see the Gorillas and Saints get there, but I mean, they looked very, very much improved. So I think that it was a little bit of a honeymoon period, and I think the Florida Mutineers are kind of going to get solved this weekend. So I got it as a 3-1. We then move on to the knockout round 2. This would be between the Mutineers and the London Royal Ravens. For both of us, who do you have taking it?
I have the Florida Mutineers taking this one 3-2 against
Oh,
London.
okay, and I've also got it going game 5, but I've got the London Royal Ravens taking this one. I think Zero added a lot to this London Royal Ravens team, and I think he's going to be able to push them over the hump of the Florida Mutineers, the past champions. But, who knows? I might be way off on this one. Next up, we got the Atlanta FaZe versus the New York Subliners. Who do you favor in this one?
I got the Atlanta FaZe in this one 3-1 against the Sub.
I agree. That's exactly what I have. That means the Subliners will verse Optic Gaming yet again. Who do you have taking this one?
I still got the Subliners in this one, but I still think it'll be a close game 3-2.
Okay, I got it going game 5 as well, but I went the opposite route. I got Optic Gaming. It's just so difficult for a team to beat another 2 times in a row. So I've got Optic Gaming just edging out the Subliners here. Gosh, both teams are great. I honestly want to see both teams do really well. I think it'd be sweet to see both making it to the grand finals, which is possible. But it's going to be really tough. So you've got the Dallas Empire versus the New York Subliners. Who do you have taken that one?
I got Dallas taking it 3-1.
Okay, and then I've got Dallas over Optic Gaming in 5 games. It's a 3-2 victory for the Dallas Empire. And then you've got the Atlanta FaZe versus the Florida Mutineers. You are favoring who in this one?
I'm favoring FaZe in this one. I think they're gonna flip it from last event, and I think they're gonna beat the Mutineers 3-1.
Okay, and I agree with the score line. However, it'll be FaZe over the Royal Ravens rather than the Mutineers. So we both have a FaZe versus Empire championship. Who do you have taking home the gold?
I have Dallas Empire taking the gold, 3-2.
Okay, I've got FaZe taking it home 3-2. You guys can go fill out your brackets over at bracket.callofdutyleague.com. Let us know who you guys have winning your championship. So, what made you put the Empire over FaZe in this final championship round? Was it the form that we're going to see from the Dallas Empire this weekend, or is it the lackluster form that we saw from FaZe this past weekend? What was it in your mind that has the Empire over the FaZe?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think the slow start for FaZe was kind of, I don't know, it was making me fall out a little bit, but I still think they'll put a great performance out there this weekend. And I think just Dallas Empire has been consistent, was very consistent last event, and I think they can just keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm 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 not hoping that. So let's get this right out in the open. Cam and I, both Huntsman fans. I'm not hoping for FaZe to bounce back and be better because that'll really hinder our chances as a Huntsman fan. And I mean, really, I don't want Dallas to win it either. But realistically, I think these are the two best teams in the league right now. I think they take out the Florida Mutineers. I think they take out the likes of the Royal Ravens, the Subliners, and Optic Gaming. I think those three teams are the next three after our top four, which includes the FaZe, Empire, Mutineers, and Huntsmen. But I think it's going to be a great tournament, and I think there's going to be a lot of surprises, actually. You know, we had a very surprising weekend at CDL Minnesota. I think CDL Paris could definitely surprise as well. So, very excited for this tournament. Any last words from you, Cam?
I hope we have a great Paris tournament. I think there'll be a lot of surprises too as well. I think there'll be a lot of bounce backs and everything, and see what Mutineers bring from last event, and see if Dallas can keep it consistent, and see if FaZe jumps back, and see if they can keep it rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, want to thank you for coming out and giving a listen to the first ever episode of Free for All, a series brought to you by the WNP Podcast. If you want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can follow us at WNP Sports Pod on Twitter. That's again at WNP Sports Pod on Twitter. We'll make sure to let you guys know everything that's going on with the podcast over there, whether it's a football episode, a hockey episode, a Call of Duty episode, or maybe another episode that may be coming shortly. I want to thank you guys again for coming out and giving us a listen. And as always, we're not professionals.